I'm a K-I-N-G, baby, I'm all you need. In the off-white Rari, baby, we run the streets. I'm a K-I-N-G, Westside royalty. I'm a K-I-N-G, baby, that's all you need. I'm a K-I-N-G, baby, I'm all you need.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Steven Basita, and you are on my podcast, Get It. And if you're watching this on IGTV, please make sure you follow us. If you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure you subscribe, comment, share. And of course, we always enjoy the feedback that we get. And for today, my guest is Jennifer Ayala.
Hi, guys.
And we're going to be just speaking about motherhood to start off, which is something that, I think that a lot of people have a misconception about. And, for me, I'm about to be a dad all over again here with a little new one joining us in a couple of weeks. But, for the women who stay at home and are stay-at-home moms, which my wife has had a couple of stints doing, I personally had an idea of what that was actually like until I saw firsthand what it was like, because there's been times where I've in turn had to take some time off work and be a stay-at-home dad for small stints. And there's a lot that goes on. And I think that there's a lot of misconceptions, especially for people that are going to be new parents out there. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit today. So welcome. Thank you for joining me. And
Thank you for having me.
I'd love to hear about, obviously, just starting off, what's it like to be a stay-at-home mom? What does your life look like? What's the balance of that? Walk us through it.
I think I'm still working on that balance of being a stay-at-home mom because I'm still in my first year. She's just 13 months now.
Okay.
So I'm still trying to get the hang of it and trying to see where I stand with my balance. What is balance? So that's where I am right now on that. But being a stay-at-home wife and mother is beautiful. Honestly, it's the most beautiful thing that's ever happened. Like, don't get me wrong, but there's so many things that come with just being a stay-at-home mom and a wife. You have to make sure the household is right, cleaning, cooking, having set schedule times, nap times, and it's just, where do you get time for yourself? That's where I'm still a little crisscross with trying to find a balance in that. So that's a little difficult, but it's beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful. It's all worth it, but it's a little difficult to find that balance when you're first time mom.
I'm glad that you talked about that it's hard to find time for yourself, because that's something that most people don't understand. And again, when they hear like, oh, that there's a stay-at-home parent, they think, oh, you have this great life and you get to do whatever you want. And, you don't. And there is a lot of responsibilities in trying to keep up with the dishes and the laundry. And if you have dogs, taking the dogs for a walk, taking care of your kid, feeding them every couple hours.
Yeah.
When you put them down for a nap, you don't have a break. Now you're trying to get everything done you can possibly do in as fast as possible, because you don't know how long you're going to be asleep for.
Right. And that's if they take a full 2-hour nap or however long it is. Sometimes it's 30 minutes and she's back up. You have to follow them around. They put stuff in their mouth now. They start walking. It's just
crazy.
It's
Well, and it gets crazier as they continue to progress up. But what are some things that, so in talking about that balance, what are some things that you're doing for yourself to try and start finding that balance so you can have some you time? Because, of course, I have to fly a lot. And one of the big things they always say is make sure you put your mask on first.
Yeah.
And then you put the other person's mask on after. Because if you pass out, you're good to no one, right? You got to take care of yourself first. And really, that's a good, analogy for life, really. And I'm horrible at that. My wife is a patient woman. My wife had to be the one that was like, you need to start learning how to take care of yourself first, because you're so busy always taking care of everyone else that you're the first one that gets knocked off. Well, then everybody else, and then you're like sick or you're dog tired or you're not functioning well, you're still trying to take care of everybody, and they're not getting that 100% of you. So what are some things that you're learning or doing for yourself to give you those small breaks or those small chunks of me time, and when does that look as far as like your schedule when you get some of that time?
Well, I mean, and on top of that, it starts to get into mental health. And sometimes you end up being depressed and you had no idea you were. You have no idea that you're depressed unless you're like in a mirror looking back. But some things that I've started to do, because it did take me long. I'm not sure how long it takes other parents or other moms, but it took me probably about like a whole 10 months to start doing stuff for myself. I'll go on walks, but obviously she comes with me, but that's for me, you know, going on a walk, relaxing, trying to do stuff around the house. I'm taking it as my time, me time, you know, instead of thinking of it as, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. It's more of me time. Let me zen out and then think of myself, get myself together, and then, you know, get back on being a mom.
Right.
So I'm still working on that actually. So I can't really say, oh, these are the things that have helped me. But so far, that and trying to find time to hang out without her, that's like a difficult place too, because I don't want to leave her and I don't want to leave her alone. I don't know. I just feel like someone's ripping out my heart when I leave her alone.
So how do you then make time for yourself and your husband? How do you make time to have a little bit of that separation so that you can have, you know, time to reconnect in the other areas of your life you need to? And do you have you gotten the spot yet where you're able to still go and work out at the gym again? Or are you not doing that right now because of the virus?
Yeah, I actually haven't gotten to that spot because of the virus as well. And yeah, because of motherhood. And I just feel like before, a couple of years ago or a year before I got pregnant, I had slowed down the gym, but I was like a gym rat. I was there all the time. And now I'm like, my muscles are so weak. I'm like, where do I begin? It's so crazy how you lose it and you're like, well, where do I start all over again? You're like, where do I start when you already have started and you have done it, but you just lose it and you're like, wow, where do I go? How do I do this? But like I said, the walking has helped me. Sometimes I put out the yoga mat and do some stretches. She does them with me, but while she's watching something or learning something, so she's always there.
Yeah, so I just joined a gym here about a mile from where we live, and I joined 24 Hour Fitness.
Nice.
And dude, I haven't worked out a lot myself either with the whole coronavirus, and I moved from Southern California here to Denver. And I would even say within the last, you know, probably 18 months, I haven't really worked out much as far as like the weight room's concerned. It's been a good humbling experience, and not because I'm not out of shape, because I still am very active.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just different, right? Weightlifting, you know, I remember what I stopped at, and that's not been a fun little journey of, like I said, I'm being humbled a little bit right now. So I go to the gym, I get up, but because of our situation too, so we do have a little girl, she's going to preschool, and her day goes from 9:15 to 3:15.
Oh, okay.
So I get up at 6, and I take we have two mixed dogs. They're a mix of Pit, Lab, and Husky. And I take them for a run, and we go for like a 15 to 20-minute morning run. Bring them home. I run to the car, drive to the gym. We've got between 30 minutes, 45 minutes to work out. So I get in there and I just tear through it. All the things I want to get done as quick as possible. Come home, then I have my daughter and my wife to get up right at 8 o'clock. Mm-hmm. So I make both of them breakfast. I start getting my daughter's stuff ready for school that day. My wife will come down, and then she'll kind of get her day going. And then, take my daughter to school, come home, and then I start my day of all my work stuff and readings. And it constantly changes because, you know, we're going to be having a second kid, so my schedule will change again. But even with our daughter, now we're finally a spot where she actually can, you know, she'll wake up on her own. She'll open her door. If she really wants to like come see us, she'll come in our room and say good morning. But she knows how to get her breakfast ready. So there's times she'll go downstairs by herself and I'll hear the drawers and stuff, you know, in the fridge, but
Mhm.
she'll get her yogurt and she'll get her little granola bar and she'll sit at the table and she's ready to rock and roll, which is pretty cool that she
Yeah.
can do that. But
Like a
there's,
human created to do something. It's so cool.
yeah, so there's always adjustments, and that those first 4 years though, between being born and that 4 year mark, it's constantly changing.
Mhm.
And that's one thing that I will say is something that you can't ever be prepared for and no one can tell you,
Yeah.
because every kid goes through their own changes at their own pace, but every day it's so much stuff.
Yeah.
It's fun though. But you know, moving on to the next thing that you are passionate about is fashion. So then as far as that whole thing, and you know, I'll say that I'm not a very fashionable person. My wife will take a lot of credit for how I look these days when it comes to clothing, mostly because she threw away most of my clothes when we got married and bought me new ones.
That's
So
cool.
yeah, it was great for her. I don't know. There was a couple things I liked that I don't have anymore, but I got over it. How do you, you know, with fashion, since I'm not a fashion person, what got you involved in fashion? Why do you enjoy it? And what are things that you particularly focus on in fashion? Because I know there's a variety of different avenues in that world.
Well, I like to think of it as your personality is what you're wearing. You know, you want to portray your personality with someone just looking at you instead of getting to know you. So you're trying to show off who you are through clothing. And for me, it's always like, what? How do I feel that day? You know, do I want to strut and look fierce, or do I want to look casual and less is more? So it
Okay.
all depends, I think, on the day. And how I got into fashion was just as a little girl, I've always loved dressing up, always loved it. I'm sure every little girl loves it. But from then it just progressed. And then I started modeling when I was 18. And then it just continued as that my love for fashion continued as well. Started looking at runways, fashion shows, was involved in Aspen Fashion Week, loved it. I just got so involved with it. It was just something that was part of me and became who I am.
So let me ask you a more specific question. It's getting cold and we've had some snow already. And I keep looking at the weather reports and I know that the next couple of weeks it drops off exponentially. So what do you do to prepare for being fashionable in the cold?
It depends because it does get cold out here. So sometimes you could just wear a full onesie that you would wear skiing with some moon boots. And there you go. You look fierce. Some furs, you know, some faux furs. Always a fur is always good in Colorado because it's always cold. And just boots, you know, when it gets fall, boots. When it gets summer, it's less clothes. I'm not much of a summer fashion fan. I'm more a fall, winter. That's my favorite. The more layers, the better, I think.
Do you dress your husband up too?
I don't. He doesn't let me actually, and I just let him do what he wants.
You like his fashion?
I like him.
That answers the question. My wife will tell people when we met, she's like, yeah, I just really liked him. And they're like, well, did you like how he looked? He's like, yeah, I just really liked him. Yeah.
Simple.
That worked out well. There's one time, so she didn't do this slowly. We met and got married 4 months later.
Oh, wow.
And so she just really kind of eradicated my closet, but we got married and then we moved in together. So right before we got married, her lease had ended like 3 days before we left to go to Las Vegas where we got married. We had a fun wedding with friends in Las Vegas. And then 8 months later, we had our big public to-do wedding in LA.
Oh.
So she, you know, has her stuff in storage, has some stuff at my place. So when we get back from Vegas, most of my stuff I packed up. Well, I had to leave for work and she didn't. So she stayed with the movers. And so when we moved into our apartment together and started unpacking things, I noticed a couple of my bins of clothes were gone. And so I asked her, you know, what had happened. She's like, I don't know. And so I knew she was looking. And then, so she started replacing some of my stuff. So I had a couple of shirts that I really, really liked that she bought me. And for some reason, I couldn't find these shirts. And we were getting, towards the end of our lease on our apartment. We were moving to a house that we were going to buy. And so I remember looking for this shirt, and I literally tore up my entire room. She helped me, mind you. And this is one of the shirts, or a couple of the shirts.
Did she help you?
She helped me tear up the whole, I poured out bins of clothes. We're going through everything. She threw these shirts away. Didn't admit to it till much later. She threw them away because she had messed them up in the wash or something like that, but refused to tell me. So we spent 2 hours of our day looking for these shirts that she knew she'd already tossed.
Oh man.
Yeah. Special. So anyway, but she definitely is, fashion is huge for her too. And I would say that now, so we met when I was 31, so I'm almost 40. So now I take more pride in my look, and I actually focus on that more. I'm still not a very fashionable guy overall. She has to help, but I will say it is helpful to have a woman helping, because us guys, man, we're just straight lost unless we have help.
This looks good, and it's a wife beater and some shorts.
Well, if it was up to me, I would literally just throw on a t-shirt, basketball shorts, and flip-flops, and she hates that. Although
that's exactly what my husband wears. Yeah. Shorts and flip-flops.
It's changed now. Now that I have different things going on in my life, and I do like to try and look good for my family, especially because it's all girls in my family. Got second daughter on the way. We're adopting a girl, so I'll have 3 girls.
Oh, you're adopting? That's amazing.
And then I have my wife, so it's going to be the only males in the house are me and my 2 dogs.
Oh man,
so that's fun.
Crazy.
Yeah. So, moving on to the next thing I want to talk to you about. So this group, Ladies of Denver.
Oh yeah.
What is it? Walk us through that whole thing. How did you become part of it, and what's the mission of that group?
Ladies of Denver is a small group that began with Jade. She's a friend of mine, and I met her through Instagram, and she started it with a couple of girls. I think it was 4, I believe. And her husband runs Denver Gents. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's similar. But it's a huge diversity group of women's of all walks of life, different careers, different age groups, who come together and help each other out and empower each other. And while doing so, we do it in style, and as well as raising money for local communities here in Denver.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And you said that there's her husband did a group called
Denver Gents.
Okay. And
a much larger group. That's how I started seeing more of it. And then Ladies of Denver began. And this is actually my first year being a member.
Okay.
They have yearly memberships, but we also have events where it's open to the public, and many other people can come as well and network, and then possibly sign up if they like it. If they don't, it's cool. We networked,
So you pay for a membership to be part of this group.
Correct. And a portion of the proceeds go to local communities in Denver.
And then, and so you pay the membership, you're part of this group. Do you guys meet once a month?
We meet quarterly.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And then what kind of, do you guys do an event quarterly as well? So you guys meet once quarterly. Do you guys do something quarterly as an entire organization, or how's that whole thing?
We haven't done with Denver Gents and Ladies of Denver. They haven't united quite yet, but it's just Ladies of Denver, and we do quarterly meets, and we have fancy dinners. We dress up like super fancy, just to feel good and to talk about what we can do and how we can help each other out in each other's businesses and grow. And there's also other events that have been thrown that's open to the public. So you could bring friends, and it's just a networking event with some hors d'oeuvres and some wine, and just talk about business and get to know people.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So this is just strictly then a networking thing. So it would be just networking for those that live in Denver.
Correct. But once you're a member, you're helping the community as well.
And what do you guys do as far as like community stuff?
So far, I know that some of our proceeds go to the women shelter here in Denver, and there's a few other ones I'm not quite sure of.
Okay. And do you guys do like public events where you're actually doing like just the people that are part of that group, you all say, hey, we're going to go volunteer at this shelter for this weekend, and you all go and you volunteer time? Or
Yes, I believe so. Since it's my first year, I have yet to go, and with the virus and everything, it slowed everything down.
Yeah.
With Ladies of Denver. So I'm pretty sure we will eventually go together as a group and help out hands-on.
Yeah, this virus has been it's been a damper. It's been challenging because moving to a new area,
Yeah.
I'm a pretty outgoing guy in general. It's pretty easy for me to meet people and, kind of get that ball rolling, because my wife, her name's Tara. So Tara and I, we moved here. We only knew a couple of people when we moved here. And so and my wife, she's also a very outgoing person. Obviously, she's really pregnant right now, so maybe not as outgoing as she will be later. But yeah, it's been so challenging to meet people because there's really nothing to do. And, with our daughter, like there's not a ton of things we can really take her to go do yet. And so we're not meeting other parents per se. School it's different because like for us, we have a very specific check-in time in a very specific area, and we have to be there at a certain time. We have to pick her up at a certain time.
Right.
And, you might have a couple minutes to chit chat with one or two parents, but like you really kind of got to get there, and then everybody's waiting, and so it's challenging to meet people. And then, I was hoping that maybe I'd meet some people at the gym, just because I'm like, if I'm going to meet somebody, like the gym's kind of a good place to. I've talked to a couple people, but it's hard because you don't, like for me, right now I still have to be so careful because I can't get sick because I have Sarah. So I really have to be so
cautious.
So I go early in the morning. There's not a lot of people there. I would say that there's probably 15 people total in the entire gym. And it's a big gym, and they limit it too. You're only allowed to have, I think, like 40 people at a time. But, there's just not a lot of people going to the gym anyways right now. And so, and everybody's got, like me, we're all wearing our masks. Everybody has their headphones in, and you kind of just stick to your own thing because you have to clean your own stations or anything afterwards. So it really has thrown such a wrench, so to speak, into things. And so it's so hard to just meet people. So I'm thankful that up until, I don't know if I'll be able to travel anymore now. I'll find out actually in a little bit, because I told my wife I wouldn't travel 4 weeks away from her C-section date, and today they locked that date in.
Oh, okay.
And but it was nice being able to still travel back to Southern California because that's where we lived. Las Vegas, because I have a huge network there with one of my businesses. I know a ton of people there, so it was nice always being able to kind of travel and then get to see my friends and stuff, so I could still be a little social in that aspect. But it is
difficult. And it's like, I have my daughter, she's in aqua tots, and she's in gymnastics. And even then, there's only like 2-4 people, and that's if they show up. Sometimes it's just me, her, and the teacher. You can't really talk to anybody. And then you still have that in the back of your head because you're like, oh yeah, I don't want to get sick, and I don't want to get them sick. And, I'm not sure where they stand, if they want to talk or if they don't want to talk.
And that's been really hard. I don't know how it has been for you because you're already a stay-at-home mom and you're kind of isolated. And then going out with your daughter should be your time to get to like hang out with people. But we are really social people, and we just, this whole pandemic has created such a cultural change now.
Yeah.
Because you really are, like, we want to meet people, right? And we normally would have a church that we could go to. Well, there's no churches that are in person yet.
Right.
All these things that we would normally do and that we would meet people, none of that exists right now. And so it really has been such a weird experience. And then trying to, and it has created this, I don't want to say like trust issue, but it
But
kind of
it has in a way.
yeah, like you're questioning every time that you're by someone, like, is this someone that I can speak to? Like, do I trust that they're being safe? And it really is. I mean, even within, like, my friends back in California that are single, when I go back to California, I don't usually hang out with them because I know that they're all hanging out with other single people and they're going to bars, they're going on dates,
Right.
stuff. And they're like, I'm like, dude, I love them, but I can't go around them because if they're a carrier and I get it and I take home to my wife, I'm in trouble.
It's over. Yeah.
She'll kill me. Yeah.
Yeah. I know. Weird. It's been weird. I mean, I have a big family, so we know they're not sick, and we make sure. But I think that's been our saving grace because we're constantly with family. And even before then, I was kind of a homebody, unless I had to go somewhere or had an event to go to. But other than that, I'm home all the time and make the most of it. And cousins, she has like 10 cousins.
Okay.
And we always get together, always. So I think that's have helped us with
nice.
being more social.
Yeah.
But other than that, no networking, no meeting new people so far.
We don't have any family here. I said we don't have really any friends, so it's been really it has been a unique experience in changing, and because of COVID, this is why we're in Denver now. So it's just it's changed our lives in such radical ways. Mm-hmm. And we don't have, and it goes back to, we don't have that chance to like create our new network of like people that we have as friends and we do stuff with. So it'll be nice when we have our daughter, and then there'll be, I think, a little bit of not initially, those first 6 months will still be on edge a little bit, but after she gets through the first 6 months, it'll be nice to kind of finally relax a little bit. And I'm hoping that, I know that we're still waiting to see who's going to be president, because
I know what is going on. Like, I feel like this is a huge reality show happening right now.
I mean, it just adds to 2020. 2020 has been one of those years, so you might as well just like
the dressing.
We won't know who president is until December. We don't know. It's just throw all the crap we can. Make it.
Like, come on. Like, really? On top of everything.
I know.
We're already uneasy. Like, what is going on?
I know. It's insane.
This year has been a trip.
And it'll be interesting because you have a daughter who's not going to remember this.
I know, yeah.
I don't know what our daughter will remember. I know that, she's 4.5 now, so she's going to remember some stuff. Yeah. The question is what, though?
The mask.
I'm sure, because she has to wear a mask every day. Everywhere she goes, mask. But, for our youngest daughter, she won't remember any of this. So I would assume by the time she's, 4, that this will all be over. It'll have been over for a long time, and life will be back to what we remember as it being normal, right? Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see how this plays out in the kids that, let's say, are like 8 and below. It'll be interesting to see how the effects of this really
change their lives.
Well, and change our lives, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I know how, once there's like vaccines and stuff, and we now at least we have a better understanding that it's not as deadly as we thought it was, and all those things, right? But once that stuff kind of happens, we can just go back to being kind of back to normal or
I know, but I feel like even then it's probably going to be so weird because, like you're saying, like with our trust issues now are way worse than they were before. Yeah. So it's like you're still going to be like, I think it's going to be a whole different world, but the same, just more online, if that makes sense. Like it would be like almost the 4th industrial revolution or something when electricity happens, and now it's like AI. We're gonna be online all the time.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. And like, it's for me. So I've I own a gym business. I'm a strength coach. I'm a basketball coach. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a consulting business too. But I've always been like one of my love languages is physical touch.
Right.
And so I hug everybody. And, you know, I am in close
we need that.
people.
And
right. And now it's like, I do like, if I touch people, do like the elbow thing or like, you know, I don't really touch people anymore. You know, and it's weird because I don't really touch people anymore, aside from my wife and daughter. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I don't know how your third trimester was, but Tara doesn't want to be touched.
Yeah.
So like, that's my main love language. And so I go through now this stretch of time where there's no touching. She'll have to have a C-section, which means that's not going to change for quite some time.
No more touching for a while.
So, you know, but and we had the same thing with Scarlett, but it didn't really matter because we were around all of our friends, you know, people we consider family. And I had worked really hard. And so I had a bit of a name and I definitely a huge community. And so I was always, you know, interacting and hugging people throughout the whole day and stuff. And so I guess it didn't really register in my head. Mm-hmm. Now I touch literally no one. You know, it's like my dogs. I go cuddle with my dogs. I mean,
yeah, thank God for them. I mean, I think it's needed. Our body like aches for it too, as well. Like, yeah, our humanity needs that physical touch, the seeing other people, being with other people, and actually touching them.
Yeah, it's been
hard.
Yeah, it's hard. You know,
I feel like all of us are on that same boat, and no one, like, we don't know what to do, so we're just like, yeah, this is what it is until we move from it.
Yeah, this is how I meet people now.
I know.
On Instagram, I'm like, hey, you look interesting.
You want to hang out?
Want to do a Zoom and podcast? You know, it is funny though, because I have been blessed. I will say that I worked my tail off in my 20s when I moved to Southern California. And so I've had this really cool experience too, because I've worked with a lot of pro athletes and a lot of celebrities and people that, you know, you see on TV every day. And so I get to balance it out between, you know, like my friends, people that I've trained, people that they've done different things in the world. And then of course, moving to Denver, I know I can't meet people. So then that's how I think I found you on Ladies of Denver, because I just clicked on that to see what I just thought it was a hashtag. Like, it's just women that live in Denver. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, you know, again, I do a lot of the women empowerment stuff because I think it's so critically important. And then, so that's how I, you know, and then I've tried to find some guys, although it's weird. The girls have been responsive. You would think as a male, like other males would just be responsive. No.
That's crazy.
The women have been responsive, not so much the guys.
Yeah.
Which kind of again, we're just trying to figure out our place in this, you know, world, because we live in Southeast Denver. So we're like 8 minutes from downtown.
Okay.
And we've been to downtown. When we first moved here, we stayed in downtown the night before we moved into our new home, just to like get a night's sleep. I didn't want to sleep on the floor. And that's been our only experience in downtown Denver. We walked around a little bit, but because there's still all these issues, and we're like, well, we can't really like put her out in public. So it's been weird. Like, I actually do enjoy, I enjoy cities. I'm glad that we've decided to like change the hecticness. So it's nice to be, no shots at Denver. Denver's a small city. Mm-hmm. Right. So it would be cool to go and explore a little bit. It doesn't take much to do, but again, you know, just can't do any of that stuff. So this has been, it's been so
I know, that's crazy, moving somewhere and then having the virus and all that seems much more difficult than just living somewhere and then having the virus or having the virus be around. It's insane.
Yeah. So I know it's
super for doing that.
Yeah. Well, you know, so moving to Denver was a strategic move in a couple different ways. One of those ways ended up not really panning out, but it's fine. It doesn't really matter in the big scheme of things. But just getting my basketball chapter reestablished here, because I have chapters in Nevada and California, Colorado. So Denver, Colorado was supposed to be a chapter. And right before we were able to even launch it, the coronavirus happened and we had to shut down all of our existing chapters. So we didn't have time to open this. So I did come out here to get that ball rolling too. But again, it's right here by the holidays. So it's kind of like just starting to try and like get to know coaches, get to know my area, get to know schools, get to know athletic directors, and start to, it's been just such a unique experience in life that will, I'll never forget this.
Yeah, I'll never forget it either. It's insane.
So it is. It's been really such a, unique experience. I know everybody's gone through this in their own way. I know, there's been a lot of suicides and depression and unfortunately substance abuse, which has led to accidental deaths.
Yeah.
And then, we've had this stint of time where summer came and everybody wanted to be outside and protest and things that happened there. And, whatever, I don't have a stance on that. It's just, I think it speaks more to the human condition though, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you want to be isolated for so long before you just lose your marbles. And, it just takes one thing to create that movement of people like, oh, they're all out there. I am going out there. I'm going to be part of whatever they're doing. It doesn't matter what it is. It's going to be included. Mm-hmm. It's been interesting.
Yeah, it's super interesting. It's insane. But we're human and we evolve. That's the wonderful thing.
That's true.
Well, it was like they say, the new normal. It will start to become normal, and we'll find ways, like we did. Like here we are.
I know. It's still hard to fathom that this could be our reality for years to come.
It is. I've thought of it, and I'm like, we need to actually be with the person, but I mean, you don't want to get the virus.
Yeah, I know. That's the one. Yeah. But I know vaccines are coming out at some point in the next year. I don't know that I'll take that right away. I'll probably wait a while.
I know. And let's make sure you guys try those on someone who's willing to be tried on.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. But thank you so much for doing this with me. And for people that want to follow you on Instagram, what's your Instagram handle?
It's La Bridget. It's my middle name. Okay. So it's LABRIDGITTE.
We'll have that included on the bottom screen for everybody.
And thank you so much for having me. I feel so honored. And after having a baby and everything, this is like so exciting for me. I feel like I'm dipping my foot back in the water. So I'm excited for it.
Again, I appreciate having you. And I will, when things kind of start to move a little bit, I'm actually really interested in the Gentlemen of Denver or Gents of Denver.
Yeah.
I know that they're not doing much now based on what you told me. But
well, they actually did go hiking not that long ago. I think it was about a month ago, and they went together. But
maybe I'll try and figure that out sooner or later. But thank you so much.
In touch.
No, and for all of my listeners, thank you so much for joining us. Again, you're with Stephen Bacito, I'm your host on the podcast Get It. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Hope you enjoy this.
Bye, guys.